Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is the 1931 Cleveland Indians AL MLB baseball season. Again, the Tribe was playing in the American League, the junior circuit of Major League Baseball, and home games in Cleveland were played at League Park on the east side at East 66th and Lexington. The Tribe had a good year in 1931. Their record was 78 and 76, 2 games over 500. Winning percentage of .506, 30 games out of first. The first place team was the Philadelphia Athletics, who were 107 and 45, an incredible year for Connie Mack's team. Winning percentage of .704, gosh. Second place team was the New York Yankees, 94 and 59, 13 and a half games out of first. Third place, the Washington Senators, 92 and 62. Fourth place, the Cleveland Indians, 78 and 76. Fifth place, the St. Louis Browns, 63 and 91. Sixth place, the Boston Red Sox, 62 and 90. Seventh place, the Detroit Tigers, 61 and 93. And in eighth and last place, the Chicago White Sox, 56 and 97. Winning percentage of .366, 51 and a half games out of first. Van Johnson, the founder of the American League, died in 1931. So that was the end of an era. American League president Ernest Barnard also died. He had been the Tribe president from 1922 to 1927. On July 3rd, 1931, the first Cleveland Municipal Stadium event was held. Max Schmeling retained his heavyweight boxing title in a 15-round technical knockout against W.L. Young Stribling. So this was a heavyweight title fight at the stadium. 36,936 fans came for that. However, the stadium was not ready for baseball. There was still no Cleveland Indians baseball played at the Cleveland Municipal Stadium yet. As well, the Tribe and city officials could not agree on lease terms for the stadium. At League Park, a public address system was installed, replacing megaphone announcements. According to a legend, 1931 at League Park, White Sox right fielder Smead Jolly made 3 errors on one play. And he was playing right field. The ball got past him for an error. It rebounded off the wall past him for an error, and then he made a wild throw into the infield for a third error. Now, this is a legend, not confirmed, but it's a good story. Tribe owner Alva Bradley was friends with Louisiana Governor Huey Long. So that meant that the Tribe continued with spring training in New Orleans. Long was a stockholder with the Tribe as well. Attendance in 1931 was 483,027, down 45,000 from 1930, for an average of 6,233 per game. I'm reading a fine book called Breaking the Slump, Baseball in the Depression Era by Charles C. Alexander, 2002. In 1931, there was a new rule in Major League Baseball. Batted balls which bounced over the outfield wall would no longer be considered a home run, but rather a double, ground rule double. So previously, guys were hitting home runs, balls bouncing over the fence. In the American League, all players were required to have numbers on their backs for the first time. The National League continued without numbers on the players' uniforms. There were lights and night baseball in 1931 in the minor leagues and in the Negro Leagues, but not in Major League Baseball. It's too bad, because that would have increased attendance. Fans could come to games at night after work. 1931 MLB attendance was down 18%, which was an effect of the Depression and the economic hard times in the United States. Now, the coaching staff, Grover Hartley was again, coach. He had been a player between 1929 and 1930 and was a coach between 1928 and 1931. So this was the end of his time in Cleveland. He continued in the majors as a coach until 1934, and in 1935 was an American League umpire. Grover Hartley. Howie Shanks was back as a Tribe coach. He was a Tribe coach between 1928 and 1932. Howie Shanks. Earl Wolgamott was a new coach. Wolgamott was born in 1892 and died in 1970 in Independence, Iowa at age 77. In the minor leagues, he was a catcher between 1919 and 1938. He played in 909 games in the minors, had 716 hits, 36 home runs, 144 doubles, 27 triples. He's also a manager in the minor leagues between 1929 and 1948 for the Terre Haute Tots, Grand Rapids Tigers, Zanesville Grays, where he won 2 titles, the Springfield Indians, Wilkes-Barre Barons, Batavia Clippers, and he also, as a minor league manager, managed Hall of Famer Bob Lemon and was a Tribe coach between 1930 and 1935. Earl Wolgamott. Roger Peckinpah was back as manager. Peckinpah had played for the Cleveland Naps in 1910, and then from 1912 to 1913 was Tribe manager between 1928 and 1933, and again in 1941. And Peckinpah had been a star player for the New York Yankees and Washington Senators, and was American League Most Valuable Player in 1925. Roger Peckinpah. Now the regular lineup, Luke Sewell was the catcher. Sewell batted .275 with 103 hits, 30 doubles, 3 triples, a home run, 53 RBIs, a stolen base, 36 walks in 108 games. Sewell was with Cleveland from 1921 to 1932 and in 1939. Luke Sewell. Ed Morgan was the first baseman. Morgan had another incredible year. He batted .351, 162 hits, 33 doubles, 87 runs scored, 4 triples, 11 home runs, 86 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, 83 walks in 131 games. And Morgan was with Cleveland from 1928 to 1933. He finished third in the American League batting race behind Al Simmons, who hit .390, and Babe Ruth, who hit .373. Ed Morgan. Johnny Hodap was at second base. Hodap batted .295 with 138 hits, 71 runs, 19 doubles, 4 triples, 2 home runs, 56 RBIs, a stolen base, 27 walks in 122 games. And Hodap was with Cleveland from 1925 to 1932. Johnny Hodap. Ed Montague was at shortstop. Montague batted .285 with 55 hits. He scored 27 runs, had 8 doubles, 3 triples, a home run, 26 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 21 walks in 64 games. And Montague was with Cleveland in 1928 and from 1930 to 1932. Ed Montague. Willie Kamm was the new third baseman. Kamm batted .295 with 121 hits. He scored 68 runs, had 31 doubles, 4 triples, 66 RBIs, 13 stolen bases, 64 walks in 114 games. Kamm was born in 1900 in San Francisco, California, and died in 1988 in Belmont, California at age 88. For his career, he batted .281 with 29 home runs and 826 RBIs. Kamm played for the Chicago White Sox and Cleveland Indians between 1929 and 1935. He was a dominant defensive third baseman for most of his career, and the first MLB player bought from a minor league team for $100,000. In 1928, he was 5th in the American League in the MVP voting. In 1933, he set a single-season defensive record with a .984 fielding percentage as a third baseman, which was broken in 1947 by Hank Majewski. Kamm was a master of the hidden ball trick. In other words, there's a runner at third who doesn't know he's got the ball and takes his lead and gets tagged out by Kamm. 1929, against the Tribe while playing for the White Sox, the Tribe had runners on first and second, and there was a ground ball out to first. Johnny Hodap and Charlie Jameson were both on third base, and Hodap was ruled out. Jameson stepped off third, and Kamm had the hidden ball and tagged Jameson, so there were 3 outs on that play. For his career, he had 1,643 hits, a career fielding percentage of .967, which is 15th all-time among third basemen. After he retired, he was a manager in the minor leagues for the Mission Reds and the Pacific Coast League in 1936 and 1937. According to Bill James, the White Sox trade of Kamm meant that they did not have stability at third base until 1985, a 58-year period. Kamm was acquired in a trade with the Chicago White Sox for Lou Fonseca. Willie Kamm. Joe VOSMIK was was the left fielder. VOSMIK batted .320 with 189 hits. Tremendous year. 80 runs scored, 36 doubles, 14 triples, 7 home runs, 117 RBIs. Wow. 7 stolen bases, 38 walks in 149 games. VOSMIK was with Cleveland from 1930 to 1936. He was a Cleveland native and started the season 12 for 18 at the plate for a .667 average. Baseball historian Scott H. Longer wrote, quote, "Being a hometown guy, the Indians fans had their hero, the kid from 65th Avenue. His presence in a uniform with a block C on his chest brought great excitement to League Park." Joe VOSMIK. Earl Averill had another outstanding year. He hit .333 with 209 hits. Wow. 140 runs scored. Tremendous. 36 doubles, 10 triples, 32 home runs, 143 RBIs, 9 stolen bases, 68 walks, and 154 games. Averill was with Cleveland from 1929 to 1939. His 32 home runs in 1931 set a club record. He was third in the American League behind Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, who each had 46 home runs. He was an All-Star in the first official MLB All-Star team. Earl Averill. Dick Porter was in right field. Porter batted .312 with 129 hits. He scored 82 runs, had 24 doubles, 3 triples, a home run, 38 RBIs, 6 stolen bases, 56 walks in 114 games. Porter was with Cleveland from 1929 to 1934. He was busy in the off-season with his sausage business, and they called him Twitchy Dick Porter. Now the bench players included Johnny Burnett, who was an infielder. Burnett batted .300 with 128 hits. He scored 85 runs, had 25 doubles, 5 triples, a home run, 52 RBIs, 5 stolen bases, 39 walks in 111 games. And Burnett was with Cleveland from 1927 to 1934. Johnny Burnett. Glenn Myatt was a spare catcher. Myatt batted .246 with 48 hits. He scored 21 runs, had 14 doubles, 2 triples, a home run, 29 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 21 walks in 65 games. And Myatt was with Cleveland from 1923 to 1935. Glenn Myatt. Bibb Falk played some outfield. He batted .304 with 49 hits. He scored 30 runs, had 13 doubles, a triple, 2 home runs, 28 RBIs, a stolen base, 17 walks in 79 games. And Falk was with Cleveland from 1929 to 1931. This was the end of his MLB career. He was a Tribe coach and manager in 1933. Bibb Falk. Bob Seeds played some outfield. He batted .306 with 41 hits. He scored 26 runs, had 4 doubles, a triple, a home run, 10 RBIs, a stolen base, 11 walks in 48 games. Seeds was with Cleveland from 1930 to 1932 and in 1934. Bob Seeds. Lou Fonseca played some first base before the trade. He batted .370 with 40 hits in 108 at-bats. He scored 21 runs, had 9 doubles, a triple, a home run, 14 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 8 walks in 26 games. Fonseca was with Cleveland from 1927 to 1931. He continued in the major leagues until 1933 and was a manager in 1934. Lou Fonseca. Odell Hale played some infield, played second base and third base. He batted .283 with 26 hits, scored 14 runs, had 2 doubles, 4 triples, a home run, 5 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 86 walks in 8 walks in 25 games. Hale was born in 1908 in Houston, Louisiana. He died in 1980 in El Dorado, Arkansas at age 71. For his career, he batted .289 with 51 home runs and 573 RBIs. Hale played for the Cleveland Indians, Boston Red Sox, New York Giants between 1931 and 1941. His nickname was Bad News. His parents were farmers. His wife was Mabel Jane Rainwater, and she was a Native American from Oklahoma. Hale hit for the cycle in 1938. Odell Hale. Bill Hunfield played some shortstop. Hunfield batted .239 with 17 hits. He scored 13 runs, had 4 doubles, a triple, 4 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 9 walks in 21 games. Hunfield was born in 1899 in Dedham, Massachusetts, and died in 1976 in Nantucket, Massachusetts at age 77. For his career, he batted .272 with 9 home runs and 144 RBIs. Hunfield played for the Chicago White Sox, Cleveland Indians, Boston Braves, and New York Giants between 1926 and 1931. He played for the high school in Framingham and won a baseball state title with that team in 1916. He went to Northeastern University and played on the baseball team there. After he retired, he was a manager in the manager in the minor leagues in the Cape Cod League. He also was an accountant and often late, which led him. He was an accountant, which led him often to be late for spring training because there was a conflict with tax season. Bill Hunfield. Jonah Goldman played some shortstop. Goldman batted .129 with 8 hits and 62 at-bats. He had a double, 3 RBIs, a stolen base, 4 walks in 30 games. Goldman was with Cleveland from 1928 to 1931, and this was the end of his MLB career. Jonah Goldman. George Detour was an infielder. He batted .268 with 15 hits. Scored 3 runs, had 6 doubles, 7 RBIs, 8 walks in 30 games. Detour was with Cleveland from 1930 to 1931, and this was the end of his MLB career. George Detour. Bruce Knatzer played some first base. Knatzer batted .286 with 14 hits. He scored 5 runs, had 3 doubles, 4 RBIs, 2 walks in 12 games. Knatzer was born in 1902 in Sevierville, Tennessee, and died in 1971 in Terre Haute, Indiana at age 68. For his career, he batted .257 with 8 RBIs. Knatzer played for the Cleveland Indians in 1931 and 1932. He went to the University of Alabama. In the minor leagues, he played for the Chattanooga Lookouts, the Dallas Steers, Jackson Senators, Kansas City Blues, New Orleans Pelicans, Pensacola Pilots, Terre Haute Tots, Tulsa Oilers, Vicksburg Hillbillies. And he was a scout for the Detroit Tigers and Philadelphia Phillies. Bruce Knatzer. Charlie Jameson played some outfield. Jameson batted .302 with 13 hits. He scored 7 runs, had 2 doubles, a triple, 4 RBIs, a stolen base, and 5 walks in 28 games. And Jameson was with Cleveland from 1919 to 1932. Charlie Jameson. Mo Berg was a spare catcher. Berg batted .077 with 1 hit and 13 at-bats. He scored a run, had a double, and a walk in 10 games. Berg was born in 1902 in New York, New York, and died in 1972 in Belleville, New Jersey at age 70. For his career, he hit .243 with 441 hits, 206 RBIs. Berg played for the Brooklyn Robins, Chicago White Sox, Cleveland Indians, Washington Senators, and Boston Red Sox between 1923 and 1939. He was a spy for the United States in the Second World War for the Office of Strategic Services. They called him the brainiest guy in baseball. Berg went to Princeton University and Columbia Law School. He spoke several languages and read 10 newspapers a day, reportedly. He made successful appearances as a contestant on the radio quiz show Information Please, and answered questions on the derivation of words and names from Greek and Latin, and history and politics. He was an American spy in Yugoslavia, and in Italy, he interviewed physicists from the German nuclear program. After the war, he was in the CIA. By the mid-1950s, Berg was unemployed. In the last 20 years of his life, he continued to be unemployed and lived with siblings. He grew up in Harlem and was Jewish. He studied Latin, Greek, French, Spanish, Italian, German, and Sanskrit. After playing for Brooklyn in 1923, he spent the off-season in Paris, France, and lived in the Latin Quarter. After the 1927 season, he worked in a lumber camp in the Adirondacks and was in excellent shape. There was a quote, "Yeah, I know he can't." There was a quote by this fellow said, quote, "Yeah, I know he can't hit in any of them." This was Dave Harris, Senator's outfielder, after being told that Berg spoke in 7 languages, that he couldn't hit in any of them. In the winter of 1932, Berg was in Japan and taught baseball there in seminars. He toured China, Indochina, India, Egypt, and Germany. 1934, he was in Japan, and he had a movie camera, took movies, which were used by American intelligence in the Second World War. He was a Red Sox coach in 1940 and 1941. In the Second World War, he was in the Caribbean and South America as a spy. In the Second World War in Yugoslavia, he met Tito and recommended that the United States support him in the war against Nazi Germany. December of 1944, Berg was in Zurich, Switzerland, and he went to a lecture by Werner Heisenberg, and he was determined, he was trying to find out if the Germans were close to having an atomic bomb, and if so, his mission was to kill Heisenberg, and he decided against that. He received the Medal of Freedom Award from the United States for his services in the Second World War. And the citation writes this, quote, Mr. Morris Berg, United States civilian, rendered exceptionally meritorious service of high value in the war effort from April 1944 to January 1946. In a position of responsibility in the European theater, he exhibited analytical abilities and a keen planning mind. He inspired both respect and a constant high level of endeavor on the part of his subordinates, which enabled his section to produce studies and analysis vital to the mounting of American operations. Berg refused to accept this award. His sister accepted after his death. He died at age 70. His final words were, quote, "How did the Mets do today?" He's in the National Jewish Sports Hall of Fame, inducted in 1996, and his is the only baseball card on display today at the CIA in Washington. There was a movie in 2018 that was made about him called The Catcher Was a Spy, based on Nicholas Dowidov's 1994 biography, The Catcher Was a Spy, The Mysterious Life of Moe Berg. Paul Rudd, the actor, played Berg in the movie. In the minor leagues, Berg played for the Minneapolis Millers, Toledo Mud Hens. Now, I'm reading a fine book called Catcher, Lover, and Spy by Daniel W. Huffstetler, 2016. Batting for the White Sox in an exhibition game against the Little Rock Travelers, the opposing catcher said this to Berg when he was batting, quote, "Hey, Berg, you're a Jew bastard, a kike." And Berg responded, quote, "I'm disappointed in you, Louie. You have called me those identical names during my first at-bat. Have you no imagination? Perhaps I can help with a few alternatives. Try words like Abraham, Hebe, Sheeny, or Christ killer, although I must say I hold Christ in the highest regard. But feel free to use any of these choices. There is no fee." Now I'm reading another fine book about Moe Berg called The Catcher Was a Spy, The Mysterious Life of Moe Berg by Nicholas Dawidoff, 1994. And here's a quote. Quote, "Moe Berg was a voracious reader, and journalists naturally liked that, especially when they caught sight of the tomes he was hauling around the American League with him to complement his copy of their newspaper." Regarding Red Sox rookie George Scott in 1996, Moe Berg said this, quote, "I believe there are fortunes to be made by the contractors who replace the walls he will tear down by the force of baseballs he will hit." Nicholas Dawidoff wrote this, quote, Moe Berg's was a life of abiding strangeness. The secret world of Moe Berg was charming and seamy, vivid and unsettling, wonderful and sad, and unlike the caricature, it was resonant with ambiguity. Berg reportedly had a photographic memory, and he had a lifelong zest for eclectic knowledge. He was on the baseball team at Princeton, playing shortstop. He spoke Latin on the field with second baseman Croson Cooper to disguise their intentions from the base runner at second. He was a summer camp counselor, and there was a rumor that Berg was memorizing the Divine Comedy at night by Dante Alighieri. As a senior at Princeton on the baseball team, the team went 21-4 and lost to Yale at Yankee Stadium 5-1, which meant they lost the Big Three title. After 1923, his rookie year with the Brooklyn Robins, Berg, as I said, traveled to Paris, France. Nicholas Dawidoff wrote this, quote, "France delighted him for the sheer difference of it all. He wandered through the Tuileries, the Louvre, stepped into a mass at Notre Dame, developed a taste for Racine and Molière. He encountered John McGraw and Huey Jennings in Paris and had dinner with them. And the famous expression, good field, no hit, originated with MLB scout Mike Gonzalez regarding Berg. In 1925, in the International League with the Reading Keystones, on September 20th, Berg was 8 for 8 in a doubleheader. He hit .311 with 124 RBIs and 72 errors at shortstop that year. In 1926, he signed with the White Sox and arrived late on May 28th. He arrived late so he could finish his first year of law school. With the White Sox, they had injuries, so Berg converted from a shortstop to a catcher. Nicholas Dawidoff wrote this about Berg on the 1928 White Sox, quote, "The press was warming up to Mo Berg, and why not? On a bad team, a witty man of broad interests made for a nice traveling companion. And more important, good rainy day copy." Berg was popular with the Jewish community in Chicago. Dawidoff wrote this, quote, "Mo Berg, the elusive intellectual, always deflected attention and was careful never to flaunt his learning or to make an exception of himself." His teammate insulted Berg one day, and he responded, quote, "That betrays a lack of vocabulary. You shouldn't curse. Don't you ever use a polysyllable?" To the press, he called his teammates, quote, "the gentleman I played with." Shirley Povich of the Washington Post wrote this, quote, "Mo was bemused and amused by ball players. Mostly he talked about them with benign amusement, never scorn or contempt." 1930, he had a knee injury and went to the hospital. And it was a Catholic hospital. There were Catholic nuns who were nurses. Dawidoff wrote, quote, "The nuns gathered at his bedside in virtual shifts to giggle at banter that poured from him like lemonade. In return, they indulged in some mild proselytizing, begged him to repent, to repeat a few Hail Marys every day. He was having none of it, and let it be known that they were praying for him anyway." 1931 with the Tribe, quote, "Berg may have done more for team owner Alva Bradley by taking his young son Maury to Cleveland's museums on rainy days than by anything he did at the ballpark. He didn't play very much and wore the same clothes his whole life, a dark gray suit, white dress shirt, black tie, and black shoes. Sometimes he would wear a gray fedora. He had 8 identical suits with 10 identical ties. He told Jimmy Breslin, author, the reason about the clothes. And Breslin said, quote, "He told me he was in mourning for the world." Berg traveled with a separate suitcase just for newspapers. Berg said this, quote, "If you read the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the Boston Globe, you don't need to go to college." Shirley Povich wrote, quote, "We know a lot about ball players' private lives, but he was mysterious. You never saw him hanging around the hotel lobby like the other ball players. They just accepted Mo for what he was, a man apart. The game ended and Berg showered, dressed, and disappeared. He never told anybody what he did with his free time." Dawidoff continued, quote, about baseball for Berg, quote, "No other job would send him to so many places and offer him as much free time for reading, dining, and adventure." Berg was released by the Tribe in January of 1932 and signed with the Washington Senators as a third-string catcher. Now I'm reading another fine book, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Heart-Pounding, Jaw-Dropping, and Gut-Wrenching Moments from Cleveland Indians History by Mary Schmidt Boyer, 2008. And here's a quote. "Mo Berg was America's premier atomic spy during World War II, focusing on Germany's atomic, biological, and chemical warfare, as well as Nazi war crimes. Berg's first OSS assignment was to go to Yugoslavia to assess its rival armies and advise the United States on which one to support. He traveled to Norway to check the status of a heavy water plant that had been sabotaged. He once masqueraded as a German officer in a munitions plant in Florence, Italy. He became obsessed with finding Herr Professor Werner Heisenberg, Germany's foremost atomic scientist, and eventually provided information that led to his capture." Mo Berg. Joe Sprintz was another spare catcher. Sprintz batted 3 times, did not have a hit in 1 game. Sprintz was with Cleveland from 1930 to 1931, so this was the end of his time in Cleveland. He continued in the major leagues until 1933. Joe Sprintz. Now, the pitching staff, Wes Ferrell had another outstanding year. He was 22-12 with an ERA of 3.75, 40 games, 35 starts, 27 complete games, 2 shutouts, 3 saves, 123 strikeouts in 276 and a third innings pitched. He also hit very well. FERRELL batted .319 with 37 hits. He scored 24 runs, had 6 doubles, a triple, 9 home runs, 30 RBIs, 10 walks in 48 games. FERRELL was with Cleveland from 1927 to 1933. He had a no-hitter on April 29th against St. Louis at League Park, 9-0 victory. His brother Rick hit a ground ball to deep short, and Bill Hunfield's throw pulled Lou Fonseca off the bag for an error. So he still had his perfect game, or no-hitter. FERRELL also in that game not only had a no-hitter, but hit a home run and a double and an RBI. Wow, Wes Ferrell. Willis HUDLIN had a strong year. HUDLIN was 15-14 with an ERA of 4.60. 44 games, 34 starts, 15 complete games, 1 shutout and 4 saves, 83 strikeouts, and 254 in a third innings pitched. HUDLIN batted .200 with 20 hits. He scored 11 runs, had 6 doubles, 2 triples, 13 RBIs, 6 walks, and struck out 28 times. HUDLIN was with Cleveland from 1926 to 1940. Willis HUDLIN. Clint Brown was 11-15 with an ERA of 4.71. 39 games, 33 starts, 12 complete games, 2 shutouts, 50 strikeouts, and 233 in a third innings pitched. Brown batted .172 with 15 hits. He scored 8 runs, had 3 doubles, 9 RBIs, 7 walks, and struck out 6 times. Brown was with Cleveland from 1928 to 1935 and from 1941 to 1942 and is buried in Lakewood Cemetery in Rocky River, Ohio. Clint Brown. Mel Harder was 13-14 with an ERA of 4.36. 40 games, 24 starts, 9 complete games, a save, 63 strikeouts, and 194 innings pitched. Harder batted .253 with 19 hits. He scored 7 runs, had 2 doubles, a triple, 10 RBIs, 2 walks, and struck out 24 times. Harder was a player for Cleveland from 1928 to 1947 and a coach for the Cleveland Indians from 1948 to 1963. Mel Harder. Sarge Connolly was 5-5 with an ERA of 4.20. 17 games, 9 starts, 5 complete games, a save, 37 strikeouts, and 85 2/3 innings pitched. So he was mostly a relief pitcher. Connolly batted .185 with 5 hits. He scored 4 runs, had 3 doubles, a triple, 3 RBIs, a walk, and struck out 8 times. Connolly was born in 1898 in McGregor, Texas, and died in 1978 in Houston, Texas at age 79. For his career, he was 49-60 with 345 strikeouts and an ERA of 4.30. Connolly pitched for the Chicago White Sox and Cleveland Indians between 1921 and 1934. Sarge Connolly. Pete Appleton was 4-4 with an ERA of 4.63, 29 games, 4 starts, 3 complete games, 2 saves, 25 strikeouts, and 79 2/3 innings pitched. So he also was mostly a relief pitcher. Appleton batted .205 with 5 hits, scored a run, had a triple, an RBI, a walk, and struck out 3 times. Appleton was with Cleveland from 1930 to 1932, and he was also known as Pete Jablanowski before he changed his name. Pete Appleton. Roxy Lawson was 0-2 with an ERA of 7.60. 17 games, 3 starts, 55 2/3 innings pitched, and 20 strikeouts, so another relief pitcher. Lawson batted .143 with 2 hits and 14 at-bats. He had a triple, an RBI, and struck out 5 times. Lawson was with Cleveland from 1930 to 1931, so this was the end of his time in Cleveland. He continued in the major leagues until 1940. Roxy Lawson. Fay Thomas was 2-4 with an ERA of 5.18. 16 games, 2 starts, a complete game, 25 strikeouts, in 48 2/3 innings pitched. Thomas batted .154 with 2 hits and 13 at-bats. He scored a run, had a walk, and struck out 5 times. Thomas was born in 1903 in Holyrood, Kansas, and died in 1990 in Chatsworth, California, at age 86. For his career, he was 9-20 with an ERA of 4.95 and 112 strikeouts. Thomas pitched for the New York Giants, Cleveland Indians, Brooklyn Dodgers, and St. Louis Browns. Between 1927 and 1935, he pitched in the Pacific Coast League from 1930 to 1943 and is in the Pacific Coast League Hall of Fame, inducted in 2004. He went to the University of Southern California and played on the Trojans baseball and football teams. He appeared in the movie The Pride of the Yankees as Christy Mathewson. Thomas died in 1990 of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Very tragic. In the minor leagues, he played for the Ottumwa Cardinals, who were mentioned in the television show MASH. Radar O'Reilly was from Ottumwa, Iowa. Also, the New Haven Profs, the Toledo Mud Hens, Buffalo Bisons, Oakland Oaks, Los Angeles Angels, Portland Beavers, Hollywood Stars, and Wenatchee Chiefs. Faye Thomas. Jake Miller was 2-1 with an ERA of 4.35, 10 games, 5 starts, a complete game, a shutout, 41 1/3 innings pitched, and 17 strikeouts. Miller batted .077 with 1 hit and 13 at-bats. Scored 2 runs and struck out once. Miller was with Cleveland from 1924 to 1931, so this was the end of his time in Cleveland. He continued in the major leagues until 1933. Jake Miller. Milt Schaffner was 2-3 with an ERA of 7.24, 12 games, 4 starts, a complete game, 41 innings pitched, and 12 strikeouts. Schaffner batted .077 with 1 hit and 13 at-bats. Scored a run, walked once, and struck out 6 times. Schaffner was with Cleveland from 1929 to 1931, so this was the end of his time in Cleveland. He continued in the major leagues until 1940. Milt Schaffner. Orel Hildebrand was 2-1 with an ERA of 4.39, 5 games, 2 starts, which he completed both, 26 2/3 innings pitched, and 6 strikeouts. Hildebrand batted .182 with 2 hits and 11 at-bats and struck out 3 times. Hildebrand was born in 1907 in Indianapolis, Indiana, and died in 1977 in Southport, Indiana, at age 70. For his career, he was 83-78 with an ERA of 4.35 and 527 strikeouts. Hildebrand pitched for the Cleveland Indians, St. Louis Browns, and New York Yankees between 1931 and 1940, so he was a rookie in 1931. He was an All-Star in 1933 with the Tribe and won a World Series title in 1939 with the New York Yankees. He went to Butler University and was a starting center played on the baseball team and was a starting center on the basketball team there as well, and led Butler to a title in 1922 and is in the Butler Hall of Fame. After he retired, he was a tool and die maker for the Link Belt Division FMC Corporation. Orel Hildebrand. Belv Bean was 0-1 with an ERA of 6.43, 4 games, 7 innings pitched, and 3 strikeouts. He batted once, did not have a hit. Bean pitched for Cleveland from 1930 to 1931 and from 1933 to 1935. Belv Bean. Howard Craighead had no decisions and an ERA of 6.35, 4 games, 5 2/3 innings pitched, and 2 strikeouts. He did not bat. Craighead was born in 1908 in Selma, California, and died in 1962 in San Diego, California, at age 54. For his career, he had no decisions and an ERA of 6.26 and 23 strikeouts. He played for the Cleveland Indians in 1931 and 1933. They called him Judge. In the minor leagues, he played for the Toledo Mud Hens and the San Diego Padres. He's in the Fresno County Athletic Hall of Fame. Inducted in 1974, and was a lieutenant commander in the U.S. Navy during the Second World War. Howard Craighead. And finally, Pete Donahue had no decisions, an ERA of 8.44, 2 games, 5 1/3 innings pitched, and 4 strikeouts. He batted twice, did not have a hit, and struck out once. Donahue was born in 1900 in Athens, Texas, and died in 1988 in Fort Worth, Texas, at age 87. For his career, he was 134 and 118, an ERA of 3.87, and 574 strikeouts. Donahue pitched for the Cincinnati Reds, New York Giants, Cleveland Indians, and Boston Red Sox between 1921 and 1932. He was the National League wins leader in 1926. He's in the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame. In the minor leagues, he pitched for the Jersey City Skeeters, Kansas City Blues, Minneapolis Millers, Columbus Redbirds, and the Hollywood Stars. He went to Texas Christian University and played for the Horned Frogs baseball team. After the season, the American League champions Philadelphia Athletics were defeated by the National League champions St. Louis Cardinals in a 7-game series, 4 games to 3. The A's were going for 3 in a row, and it was a rematch of the 1930 World Series. Hall of Famers in the World Series for the Athletics included Connie Mack, the manager, Mickey Cochran, Jimmy Fox, Lefty Grove, Wade Hoyt, and Al Simmons. For the Cardinals, Jim Bottomley, Frankie Frisch, Burley Grimes, Chick Hafey, and Jesse Haynes. And umpire Bill Clem. Pepper Martin was a World Series star. He hit .500 with 5 stolen bases and a home run. Martin inspired poor Americans because he was humble and he had mid-American origins, toiled for a long time in the minor leagues, had a hell-bent style of play, and he symbolized the gritty struggle many Americans faced in the 1930s. So that's the story of the 1931 Cleveland Indians. They had a good year. God bless the fellows who played for the Cleveland Indians in 1931, and everyone else associated with the team, including the fans, especially the Civil War veterans, Spanish-American War veterans, and First World War veterans. Captains of the Cuyahoga, lovers of Lake Erie, Terminal Tower Power, fans of the Free Stamp statue and the Fountain of Eternal Life, Euclid Avenue Electricity, Severance Hall stalwarts, Cleveland Museum of Art enthusiasts, First Energy Stadium friends, Progressive Field pals, Quicken Loans Arena enthusiasts, Tribe, Browns, Cavs, Monsters, and Gladiators rule. Cleveland, City of Champions. Cleveland is the best location in the nation on the north coast of America. New York is the Big Apple. Cleveland is a plum. Before you know it, it'll be opening day 2019. Go Tribe. You might consider checking out our website, Adventures in History with Peter J. Ray at peterjray.com. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.